some of that audio now.
Doesn't make sense. If you were a child killer, you took these pictures. Would you leave them out on the bed for anyone to find?
They may have been put away. Anderton might have found them.
What kind of cop were you before this?
Treasury agent. 8 years.
This would be your first actual murder scene.
Yeah.
I worked homicide before I went federal. This is what we'd call an orgy of evidence. Know how many orgies I had as a homicide cop, Gordon?
How many?
None. This was all arranged.
This 2-minute clip in Russian, which Ukrainian security services posted on YouTube, was available in Ukrainian, English, German, French, Spanish, Polish, Turkish, and Japanese a mere hours after the MH17 incident. Logic will tell you that these tapes were available way too soon and that they had to have been fabricated well in advance of the incident for the simple reason that it takes time to harvest and compile relevant intel. It takes time to get approval for the release of said intel. And as a documentary filmmaker, I can tell you that it takes hours to produce even the shortest of films. On top of that, as a linguistic specialist, I can also assure you that it takes hours to prepare a professional and accurate translation. So to do everything that was required for this video to be released, it should have taken a couple of days. This tape is absolutely not credible based on that reasoning. It was released way too soon, and this tape contains an orgy of evidence, which also tells us that something is definitely amiss. Even gangsters on the street will use coded conversation, yet we're supposed to believe that this military op was described with open language available for the pickings. If the rebels had sophisticated anti-air missile batteries at their disposal, why wouldn't they have an encrypted communications package to go along with it? Especially since they would have known that their GPS info could be triangulated by the use of a cell phone. This doesn't add up, my friends. Now, what should really be bothering the entire world here is the fact that it looks like MH17 wasn't the intended target to begin with.
Russia's Interfax news agency is quoting a source in the Russian aviation industry claiming President Putin's plane may have actually been the target of the attack. It is claimed that the president's jet crossed paths over Warsaw at the exact same height as the doomed Boeing, now just 40 minutes later. The planes were said to share a similar form and the colors of red, white, and blue, which of course is Russia's flag. And a spokesperson for Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency refused to give any details, stating that they never comment on the routes of the president and other top officials.
If true, this is a serious allegation that the mainstream media has failed to explore. Yet this doesn't surprise me, and it is in fact to be expected considering the role MSM has as a ministry of propaganda. Furthermore, it is of my opinion that this MH17 incident is an attempt to deflect attention away from an administration that has been rocked by scandal after scandal.
And all of that has done nothing to substantiate false Republican claims of a broader political conspiracy. So I don't know if you're floating another conspiracy or if this is a request from Republicans who are floating a conspiracy or what exactly the suggestion is.
The simple truth here is that the evidence on the ground is just not adding up. We've got artifacts in mint condition and reports of corpses missing their blood.
As soon as we went out of the house, we saw a body lying nearby. It must have fallen from a very high altitude. The only thing left on the body was a t-shirt. It was a man. The legs were broken. I saw practically no blood.
There's also reports that Ukraine's air traffic control ordered the flight to a lower altitude and that there was a last-minute change to the flight plan. In this diagram, you can see the flight path of 10 previous MH17 flights, yet this one gets diverted right over the firing zone. A definite red flag, my friends. People should also not underestimate the Amsterdam connection. Amsterdam is a hub of evil situated in the Netherlands. Notice the word nether there, like nether world. The Netherlands is renowned for their red light districts, like the red we find in the dark side of the force, as it were. And they are connected by language and culture to Belgium, home of the Red Devils, if you can believe that, and home of Brussels, the capital of Europe, the Europe that is so desperate for Ukrainian adhesion into the euro.
I think it's also appropriate to wish ourselves a happy new year, given what I would like to talk to you about, which has to do with the global economy and what we should expect for 2014. Now I'm going to test you numerology skills by asking you to think about the magic 7.
Other fun facts worth considering is the fact that this MH17 incident occurred on 7/17, 17 years to the day after its maiden flight, a truly stranger-than-fiction coincidence that surely will not be forgotten. And while we're on the topic of similarities, I want to close with this. Of course, nobody has found MH370 yet, and there's a good explanation for that. A recently obtained Special Operations Forces report says Captain Shah and his co-pilot, First Officer Farik Hamid, conspired together to take the plane and passengers hostage in order to force the Malaysian government to set aside the conviction of PKR opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim. Shah eventually placed the plane in a circling turnout maneuver over the water 200 to 300 miles out and made his demands known to the Malaysian authorities, vacate the verdict against Ibrahim or else. If successful, Shah would have returned the plane to Kuala Lumpur or would have tried to land in Australia and asked for political asylum. Shah would have left himself enough time and fuel to get back to one of these destinations safely, and that's why they've been focusing on the Australian coast. They've known all along. Malaysian authorities declined the offer and either shot the plane down like MH17 or the plane plunged into the deep at the hands of the pilots. Either way, Malaysia knew what was going on since the very beginning and has lied, just like the establishment is lying to us now. MH17 was either a mistake due to a failed assassination attempt, or it was a drone from the beginning, prepped at Amsterdam's airport as per Operation Northwoods, and it was prepped in the hub of evil so that it could drop dead people from the sky to provoke a new world war.